Did you know that if you really wanted to learn self-defense, and there's an individual that is well versed in self-defense, mind you, an individual that is well versed in self-defense, be it a male or female, doesn't necessarily mean that you are a martial arts practitioner as that individual or that instructor. Yes, that's true. Self-defense instructors don't necessarily have to be a martial arts practitioner or instructor. Silly rabbit. There are some people who believe that only you can learn self-defense from martial artists. That's not true. You can learn self-defense from someone who has practical experience and an adequate amount of experience. Now, speaking in reference to martial arts, I've said this before, and I've hinted at it, I've inferred it. If you go to war and you need to learn how to protect yourself, it shouldn't take you 10 years. I just had this subject come up in my class the other day. As I spoke to my children as well as my adults, I said, if you had to defend yourself now, there's something some people might call a crash course, such as when you go into the military, you go to boot camp or basic training. Did you note the word basic? Basic training, you get the fundamentals of combat. If you want to go to a higher learning, you go to an advanced training, or AIT, the Army usually refers to it as. It doesn't take that long, as I said a moment ago, to learn the concepts, the principles of fighting. After that, you're going to have a practical, maybe application during an experience. So, I said to my students this: what's the foundation? What's the foundation to fighting? If all you wanted was self-defense, if you didn't want to learn the history of that particular art or system, if you didn't want to earn belts, if you didn't want to compete in tournaments, what's the foundation? What's the fundamentals? Some, for example, would be stance. Okay? Another would be a defensive posture. You should minimally be able to stop a person from hurting you or inflicting injury upon your body, your person, or even minimizing injury if they are attacking you, if you're learning self-defense. After that, you may want to learn how to strike. What are your tools? What works for you? Is it a 4-fist strike, straight punch? Some say reverse punch, boxer's punch, or jab, or what have you. Is it that? Is it a hook? Learning what part of the anatomy to strike with, and what are the weaker targets of your assailant and or opponent. Largest 2 knuckles by the thumb, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest knuckles, that's what you want to strike with when you're punching. But did you not know that oftentimes the open hand is better than the closed fist? And you have a minimum amount of injury to the open hand when you apply it appropriately, especially when you're using the meaty part of the hand, a shuto, sudo, or knife hand, referred to in the Asian arts. Here, those are targets. Here, that's a target, just to name a few, with the open hand, and even the palm strike, and even the fingers, eye gouges, throat gouges, here and here. Those are fundamentals and basics in self-defense. And the proper state of mind, the proper attitude. And I said this before, and I'm saying it to you again. We all have different mentalities. We all have different upbringings or experiences, right? There are some people who can do very well in the street confrontation because they have the spirit, the right spirit, the survival spirit. And then there's people who are very timid, nervous, anxious, not focused. Those people require a little bit more work and attention. But it's not without hope. If you are protecting yourself or that of your family, you need to get a grip and say, hey, This is real life. If I am to protect my body, my person, my life, and that of my families, I need to get this together and be true to myself. And don't fool myself. It's not for show. It's not a television broadcast. It's not theater. It's not a movie with wires and fake techniques and choreography. It's real. Self-defense is. So when that real person is in front of you, that monkey's on your back in the street situation, you need to have the confidence to know that I'm going to walk home unscathed, hopefully, maybe with minimum injury, but yet and still I'm going to walk home or drive home. So now, I pointed something out to you. Stance. Never stand square. For the most part in the self-defense situation, become thin. We'll discuss that a little bit later. Keep your hands in front of you, protecting your vital organs. For the most part, your heart, your lungs, your liver, and so on and so forth. Keep your arms in front of you. This is the thing that's between you and your opponent, and they must violate that space to enter here. You follow? Then you learn what's the proper tool to attack with. I just talked about a couple vulnerable spots of the body. The temples. We'll talk about under the nose, the bridge of the nose, the throat, the neck, the eyes, for gouging and so forth. And we'll leave it there. So we employ the knife hand, right? We can employ the palm strike, top of the head, under the nose, under the chin, right? Especially for women, you don't want to try to take on a heavy aggressor like a man, for example, who outweighs you and who's more stronger than you. So go for the targets that are readily available to you. So now, stay protecting the hands in front of you. For the most part, if they slap your hands down, put them right back up. It's better, while you're protecting what we call the center, to receive damage to your limbs as opposed to your vital organs. Protect your head, protect your center or your organs for the most part. Have the proper state of mind, proper balance, a medium stance, not a very wide stance, not a very narrow stance, a medium stance. We'll get into that later as well. Also, focus, kimi, shisan. You watch that person intently and you mean what you're about to do. If someone is going to attack you and there's no way you can avert it or walk away from it, stand your ground. Be deliberate. Mean it. So when you look at that target, you picked the wrong person today, brother. You did. You picked the wrong one. And you study them. A lot of times when you look at them, they may acquiesce. They may back down. Not all the time, but it does happen sometimes. But they'll know that you're not going to be a pushover, an easy target. We're talking self-defense again. So now, as much as possible, again, make certain that you're not the type of person that likes to frequent rowdy bars and nightclubs. You're looking for trouble. Can't we all just simply live a peaceable life? Go to places that are calm, that's relatively easygoing, and still enjoy yourself. And how does the old expression go? Birds of a feather flock together. If you're hanging around people, they have a propensity to invite danger, then you're asking for it as well. So pick and choose your friends very well. That's another way to avoid potential situations. But we can't always pick our fights, can we? Sometimes those things come to us wherever we might be. We may not even be expecting it. So we're talking self-defense. What do you do in a self-defense situation? The first thing you do is say, I don't want any trouble. If they start to encroach in your space, you put your hands up. No. Sir, ma'am, I don't want any trouble. If you can tell someone, would you call 911? Would you call the police? Sometimes that might anger the other individual and they might want to mount an attack anyway. But still do it just the same. You've already done your part. I don't want any trouble. Call 911, call the police and so forth. If they come further, you've already said, I don't want any trouble. Then after that, and you can't escape the situation physically, stand your ground and do what you have to do. It's that simple. So, I said early on, you don't have to study martial arts or even a self-defense class for 10, 20 years. That's not necessary unless you just want to continue on a friendship with someone who might be your instructor and just be a part of a club, if you will. But for the most part, it shouldn't take very long at all to learn the basics and or the fundamentals to how to protect yourself. I mean, when you go to the police academy, it doesn't take a year to learn how to hit a target with a weapon, does it? It doesn't take 6 months to learn that either. When you go and take your concealed carry classes, it doesn't take that long to hit a target, does it? When you go to the military again, it doesn't take that long to hit a target, does it? Now that's an extension of your hand, a firearm, be it handheld or be it a rifle, a machine gun. So you are the weapon outside of that handheld weapon. You follow? You are the tool. There was a book many years ago called My Hand is My Sword, and I Am Karate. You are the weapon, because sometimes you may not have anything available to you, and it's just you and that other person, that other individual who intends to place harm upon you. So think about this. Now, what you shouldn't think about, and I've said this many times and I'm going to say it again, and I hope you write it on your thumb. Stop assuming that it can't happen to you. Stop assuming that what you saw on the news, someone got mugged, raped, or whatever, molested. Stop thinking that it can't happen to you. It happened to them. They may have thought the same thing, but it happened anyhow. If you watch the news, and it can be depressing, you'll see that there's a crime being committed every few minutes somewhere. And these types or natures of crimes are committed every few minutes somewhere in America and even the world. What's to say that it wouldn't be you? But you don't want to be the victim if you can help it at all. You want to be victorious if it came down to it. These are just words of wisdom about self-defense, something for you to ponder. This is Grandmaster Stroud. This is Brother Teacher. If you have any questions, if you need any insight, or need me to share something with you, put it in the comment section below. Until then, next time.